been 21 days since I got laid off to getting this offer. So that was like I guess like the 3 week thing. I think in a certain sense, you need to like make it your full-time job. For anyone, like speaking to anyone that sees this, that's on the fence, if you know you want to get into tech sales, there should absolutely be no question whether or not I gained like full control over first and second round interviews doing that.
I'm really excited this week to share Ian's story, who just broke into one of the best tech companies in the world within 3 weeks. Not only are you going to learn a lot from this conversation because he did some things, quite frankly, that were a bit unorthodox and less common, but also for those of you watching, he broke in 3 weeks. And look, I'm not here to tell you that just because he broke in 3 weeks, it means he's any more successful than someone who took 4 months, 6 months, or maybe even longer. But for those of you that have been struggling, I just want you to take in how much Ian attacked this process because there's a ton of great nuggets in today's conversation. Ian, obviously we're super excited for you, but more than anything, congrats to you. I think this is a great example for everyone watching of how to just go about this process, be absolutely relentless, and congrats again.
Hey everybody, really excited to speak with Ian this week, who just broke into Elastic. Ian, really excited for you. I know you got multiple offers and you really crushed the process, which we'll definitely get into. Maybe setting the stage for everyone. Where were you before breaking into tech sales? And we'll start to peel it back from there.
So with my particular situation, I was signed on to do tech sales with like, I guess Appian was more of like a platform as a service rather than an actual SaaS, but signed on to like work with them starting in July all the way back in January. So had the offer secured for a while. And then a week before the start date, they canned me and everyone else. There were some like 90, not just sales, but like 90 new people coming in on that specific date for orientation, and got rid of all of us. Seen a lot of people get laid off from there recently, but yeah. And once I saw that, because originally when I was doing like tech sales interviews with that original process, I was looking at some of your free content. And then with the situation I found myself in, sounds kind of cliche, but like what everyone else says, it was kind of like, if the free content is this good, like I can only imagine, what happens when I get paid, and you get an offer 2 weeks after joining. So it works.
No, we appreciate that. But obviously you went right back in and attacked. I think the stress of losing your job like that for completely outside of your control, like you've experienced the stress of a tenured sales rep before you've even started. So yeah, really excited. Maybe picking your brain on that too, because you mentioned you got a lot out of the free stuff. You still wanted to go in and get some education from the course. Maybe again, like you had already proven to yourself that you could get an offer, but what were the types of things you were hoping to get out of like a paid training, even though you'd been through this motion before?
I was wanting to get a more honed in skill set on what I was originally doing, because originally I was doing what you said in the free content, reaching out to hiring managers, messaging people on LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff. But I wanted to get a little bit better at it, understand like how to personalize emails a little bit more to, SDR directors or, BDR managers and things of that nature. And definitely ended up getting that because I was really able to hone in the messaging and also learn some new things in the way of like 30, 60, 90-day plans and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and obviously I think like there's a big misunderstanding or misconception there, is that a lot of people think that you can just reach out to people on LinkedIn with just like any messaging. And I think the quality of that messaging obviously is going to dictate like how many responses that you're getting back, how many interviews that you're getting, and so forth. So kudos to you, you crushed it. I want to kind of take a step back, like from the moment that you decided that you wanted to invest in training, like, were you looking at different courses? What was sort of going into that evaluation or that criteria of you like, if you're going to pay for some training, was there anything specific that you were looking for as part of that?
There wasn't anything specific I was looking for to like answer your question super directly, but in terms of like the decision, didn't really look at course careers at all. Hadn't really heard anything bad about them, but like the free content y'all put out is like very much like so good that it just built like such a, I guess like a big well of trust, to the point where once I realized, okay, I should probably pay for help to get out of my bad situation faster, given the free content, there really wasn't even like a question, what I was going to purchase.
Nice. Well, hey, I mean, we're super happy and stoked that you chose us. And I mean, you obviously crushed it. You were crushing it as well. I think prior, like obviously, I think the training is an amplifier. And so you can use it to get results faster. I think a lot of people think that they're just paying for information, but in reality, they're paying for wisdom in a way, right? Like you're paying to not make the mistakes that other people are making and get there faster. So anyhow, credit to you. You put in the work. We gave you the ingredients, some of the framework. So 100%. I guess like now that you're on the other side of it, having gone through the course, having gone through the program, was there a specific segment? You mentioned a little bit about the outreach, the quality of that, improving the messaging. Was there any specific element of the course where you felt like, okay, this kind of took things to the next level? This allowed me to get even more traction, get more interviews, or anything else?
If there was one section in particular, it was probably that one when it comes to like outreach and figuring out how to like, better personalize emails and even like, because I hadn't thought about this beforehand, but like cold calling hiring managers. So that section on how to conduct outreach is one of the best. But I would also say to like, because I don't know how y'all decide, what you pick for like YouTube or anything, but like one of the biggest benefits I think of this course, and this was something I was hoping to get coming into it, is the network. I'm not sitting here saying, you're going to join this and every person you message is going to refer you to their company. Don't want to give a false impression, but I hopped on the phone with a couple of people who took Tech Sales Ascension like maybe a year ago. Some of them were willing to refer me. A lot of them were willing to help me and give me advice. So that was like another huge benefit to the course that, isn't like specifically advertised, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I know we were talking about some of the things you were doing as well. And maybe aside from kind of going in through the just applying button, which we absolutely recommend. I didn't even know you were going to the extent of reaching out to former students. So I'd love to hear that. One of the things you had mentioned as well that I'd love you to share with other folks watching is some of the things you did even from the get-go that set yourself apart that they didn't necessarily ask for. Could you maybe, you've been through this process with quite a few companies now. Are there a few things looking back when it comes to maybe the early stage and then late stage interviews you feel like you really did to set yourself apart?
Yeah. One for the first and second round interviews. So like the recruiting screening and the SDR manager role or interviews. 30, 60, 90-day plans, like gained full control of the interview doing that. My screening for Elastic recruiter, no bullshit, pardon my French, but like asked me 2 questions and like was like, oh yeah, I want to pass you on. So that sort of stuff gives you immediate control over the interview, and it already gives them the seal of approval. Like, oh, this person is serious. Like I don't need to ask them, oh, why this company, that sort of stuff. And then later round interviews, putting together a prospecting case study doesn't have to be anything super in depth, but even if someone was just to go to the extent of like, finding an account that they think the company they're targeting has a good use case for, outline why you think that is, the decision makers you want to target, pick like 2 or 3, and then write up some, customized emails based on articles you may have seen about the agency, them personally, interviews they've done. But those 2 things in particular doesn't take that long to do, and the results that it yields are just tremendous.
I know that's a trend we've kind of started to see more and more as we're doing those types of things. I think it's strange. Like I want to talk to more of our students, but in the past, I almost discouraged people from doing that. But I think the way that you owned it, the way that you obviously constructed it, and like even just now, like you didn't even walk me through it. I can tell you were very succinct. You didn't do it just for the sake of doing it. You actually like put a genuine best foot forward and absolutely owned it. So I love to see that. I know your situation. I think it was 3 weeks from joining higher levels to breaking back in at Elastic. Is that fair? Is that right?
I think it was a little over 2, maybe like 15 or 16 days, something like that.
Wow.
Because I got, ever since I got laid off, and it's been 21 days since I got laid off to getting this offer. So that was like the 3-week thing.
Dude, that's awesome. I would love, like, this is really unique for us in the sense that I think there's a lot of students on the fence that think it can't happen quickly. I know you got after it extremely fast, and not to say that just because you got it in 16 days means you're more successful than someone that it takes 2 months. But for someone who's maybe skeptical or doesn't want to make it happen, could you speak to the speed with which you did it and maybe, what you did to make it happen so quickly, whereas we do see other folks that take longer?
I think in a certain sense, you need to like make it your full-time job, or, dependent upon, your financial position, you got to do whatever works for you, but really just putting as much effort as possible. Like for anyone, like speaking to anyone that sees this, that's on the fence, if you want to get into tech sales, there should absolutely be no question whether or not you join higher levels, whether you got to put it on a credit card, call your mom for the money. Like making it happen is so worth it. Like it's been absolutely like the best $500 I've ever spent. And yeah, I mean, I kind of went on a tangent there, but in terms of like how to make it happen faster, I would say you just really need to take action. I don't think there's anything specific I did, but started applying to companies quickly, started networking on LinkedIn quickly, and really like just doing like a lot of volume, if that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I love the advice, and obviously thanks for hyping us up to that extent. I think your ability to be so direct is probably what plays a huge role in this too. Like I see a lot of people that kind of like just fluff around a lot of different things, but you're very direct in the way that you speak. So credit to you on that. I guess like as part of this, like was there anything that kind of like messed you up at all? I mean, you did it super, super quick. Was there like anything as part of this that was like particularly challenging to you, or anything that you had to kind of overcome? Like anything at all?
I don't think there was anything necessarily I had to overcome. This is like normal, I guess, for any job, but general interview anxiety. But y'all give great tips. Like I think it's the that Excel sheet that you get in terms of like tracking your interviews, outreach types of questions. Like that was really helpful in terms of figuring out, okay, what sorts of questions I need to ask, how should I formulate those answers. So I wouldn't say anything was particularly challenging. Like if people utilize every resource that is available to them, once they take the potential next step of joining higher levels, I don't really think there's anything that can stop you. I mean, I was fortunate in a certain sense that the area I live in, there were a lot of like good logos hiring in person, but if I was able to like open the door to remote roles, which I personally wasn't really interested in, like things can happen pretty fast when you just, you take action quickly.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I mean, credit to you. You took advantage of everything. I mean, like people like you are like our favorite students that just come in, they're out there in the market. They're actually like we actually shot a podcast on this today where we were talking about like, it's very easy to get stuck in this vacuum where you're, always like optimizing every single little thing instead of getting out into the real market, getting real interview experience. And yeah, you did just that. So I love it. I guess like, just to kind of close off here, like, do you have any tips if you could kind of like go back in time, reflect back on the journey, maybe for folks out there, who are either considering like moving into a career like tech sales, considering a boot camp like Tech Sales Ascension? You hyped this up a lot, which we appreciate. But anything else that you would kind of leave yourself with or others who are in a similar situation?
Not to beat a dead horse, but if you're already in the interview process, 30, 60, 90-day plans do not take long to come up with, provided you use what's inside Tech Sales Ascension, the free content, and honestly, just like using a little bit of common sense, it's pretty easy to come up with something that is a good framework to follow for yourself and, making yourself successful in the next role, but also something that a hiring manager is going to read and be like, oh, they know to reach out to top performers. Okay, like this person is serious. So that was big. And also just prepping really good for interviews, taking time out of your day, like a couple of days before to prepare, having good answers to the tell me about yourself, why XYZ company, that sort of stuff. So like sending in the 30, 60, 90-day plans to hiring managers and then just having like really good interview prep. It's probably I guess like the advice I would leave with.
Nice. I think if there's one takeaway, it's just like, being direct, no BS. Like I think that's one thing that I know I've said it once already, but that's one thing I particularly like about you is just you're straight to the point. I think a lot of people can learn from that. I think that there's a lot of like, even though this was actually a pretty quick interview here, I think that there's a lot of gold in that. So Ian, appreciate you taking the time, and we're going to drop, Ian's LinkedIn down below. If you're not too busy with ramping and crushing it at Elastic, Ian, maybe you can help out some of the other folks out there, but we appreciate the time, and I'm super excited, man. I think you're going to absolutely crush it. So excited to see you grow and crush it at Elastic. And Eric, I don't know if you have any famous last words.
Oh, likewise, man. This is a great combo, a lot of great nuggets. And yeah, I love how much you just attack the process. And I think you're a great example of there's lots of things we see in this situation, but I think you're a shining example of it's only as complicated as you want to make it. Like you just got after it and absolutely attacked it. And congrats, man. We're really excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and with the LinkedIn being dropped, happy to help anyone that reaches out.